Hi, I'm Caleb Jones. This is Alpha Male 2.0, freedom-focused lifestyle design for men. Your own location, independent business that you own and control that frees you from your 9-to-5 job and your collapsing Western country. And equally as important, dating multiple attractive women long-term with no lying, no cheating, and no drama. This is the freest lifestyle available to the modern day man in the collapsing era in which we live. Today is a very big topic, and I was going to discuss some other things this live stream, but I've realized I don't have time. This could go 3 hours. It's not going to be 3 hours. I try to keep these live streams a little, shorter. But this is such a big topic. I'm going to struggle to keep this within the time parameters I want to keep these podcasts in. By the way, this is a podcast. If you prefer the audio version of this, you can go to alphamale20.com/podcast. I'm on all the usual podcast platforms. Also really fast, we're doing a survey right now. We're going to close it in about a day or two. It's free. If you want to tell me what my next book or thing should be, what topics I should focus on, go to Caleb Jones, CalebJones, calebjones.com/poll. If you have not yet voted in that poll, I list a bunch of topics, and you're going to tell them. I'm going to do whatever you guys tell me. Whatever gets the top 1, 2, 3 rankings of that poll, that will be my next thing or my next big thing. So we're going to do that for a few more days, and I'll let you know the results next week at this channel. Topic today is one that's going to be interesting because, hang on, let me adjust my microphone. Get a clear audio. One of you is saying my favorite shadow ban channel. I have officially verified that is the case. Before, that was my theory on why my YouTube views and subscribers are always super low, even though I've been on YouTube for 4 years now, 5 years. I've confirmed it with some AI tools. I am absolutely being suppressed by the algorithm. Yes, I am. Just fine. Don't care. Today's topic is regarding having children. And I'm going to make the argument to you, and this is actually not an argument. This is a new technique. This is a new model set for Alpha Male 2.0 that I consider part of the official model set. If you want to have kids, those of you who qualify for having children, the vast majority of you do not. I'll cover that in a minute. You need to have them with a non-Western woman who lives outside the Western world. And it's not because, well, I'll cover that in a second. Actually, I'll cover that really quick right now. It is not because Western women suck. I'm not a passport bro. I'm not Roosh. Okay. I'm not one of those guys. I have slept with, a 6-figure total number of women, but maybe more than 100 women who are Western women. I am married to a Western woman. I love Western women. They're amazing. So I'm not one of these Western women haters. They're all cunts and feminists. And Ukrainian girls are so much better. They are? Yeah. Right. It's not about that. It's about other logistics and other actual factors that come into play. I'll discuss in a few minutes. Hang on one moment. I'm going to zoom up my screen here so I can read it more easily. Very good. This is one of those topics where there's going to be a split in my audience. A decent percentage of you are going to say, well, yeah, of course, you're going to agree with 100% of everything I'm about to explain to you. And some of you are going to say, well, duh, of course you would do this. And then there's another percentage of you are going to lose your goddamn minds. I don't want to have half Asian children. I want white children. And you're going to throw a big fucking fit about this. And by the way, you can have white children and follow this model if you do it strategically. So some of you are going to agree with this. Some of you are going to have a real problem with this. But I'm right. I'm going to give you the facts and the data. And if you disagree with me, as always, disagree with me using facts, data, logic, and rationality. If you just make sweeping, dumb statements, I'm going to ignore those, as always. Cool? Cool. All right. Here's the deal. Those of you who qualify for having children, and I'm going to speak to exactly what that means in a minute. Most of you do not qualify, should not have children, at least not yet. You're not ready for a number of reasons. If you want to have children, you're going to have children. I'm sorry. And it says this in the title of this podcast, Want Kids, Why Women Living Outside the West are the better choice. And it says sadly, because I agree this is sad. It's sad that you Americans can't have children with American women living in America. I think that sucks. Welcome to Western collapse, you guys. And this is mostly your fault. So sucks. But if you want to have children, it should be with a woman who is non-Western, who lives outside the Western world. Now, as always, let me define what I say by Western world. Western world means not the geographic West, but the political and economic West. That means the United States, Canada, Europe. That means all of Europe. including Eastern Europe. You guys who like Russian women and Eastern European women, I'm going to discuss those in a minute. That counts. Australia, New Zealand. Okay? So any women who lives in those regions, who's a citizen or resident, legal resident of those regions, talk about it in a second, you should not have children with them. Not because these women are bad. These women are awesome. I love these women. It's not why. I'm not a passport bro. I'm not Mr. Negative. I'll discuss why in a second. If you want to have children, it should be with children who live outside of those several countries or regions. That's it. Why? Well, I'll discuss why. First of all, your qualifications for having children. This is nothing new. I've talked about this many times in my content. In my books and my blogs, I've talked about this. Number one, top of the list, you should not have any children unless, this is criteria number one, you have several criteria to meet if you want to have kids. Number one, you are well over 35 years old. Well over 35. That doesn't mean, oh, I'm 35 now, I'm 36 now, I can have kids. No, you're not ready probably yet. Well over age 35. Older men make better fathers. Period. End of story. I'm sorry, it's the truth. If you have kids in your 20s or early 30s, or even in most cases mid 30s, you're not going to be as good of a father as you would be if you had your kids older. This applies to me and applies to you. I had kids in my 20s, and it was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I love my two children. I love them to death. It's nothing to do with them. It has to do with my decision of having kids in my early 20s. And thank God both of my kids, because I've talked to both my kids about this, have learned from that mistake, and they're not having, my son is now in his 30s. He didn't have any kids in his 20s, and my daughter's not going to have any kids in her 20s. Good for them. Thank God. Good. Don't have kids in your fucking 20s or your early 30s or your mid 30s. Having children is one of the most, raising children, not having children. Raising children is one of the most time-consuming, difficult, stressful, draining projects of your entire life on this earth. You don't just do it because you went, oops, because you didn't wear a condom, or because your little girlfriend is stamping her foot, or because your mom is telling you to have grandkids. No, all these people can go fuck the fuck off. You have children strategically as a preset plan when you're well over the age of 35. By the way, I've said this many times, and I've backed this up with data, the longer the better. It's better to have kids in your 50s than in your 40s. Yes, I'm right about this, but I don't want to be an old man when I can't play baseball with my teenage son when I'm 65. I've used the example of Sean Connery. Sean Connery was in his 70s when he stopped acting. Do you think Sean Connery in his 70s would have any problems playing sports with his teenage son in the backyard? No. The objective is to be an old man who is spry and physically fit. I will be. This is not a difficult thing to pull off, dumbass. So yes, the older the better. 40s, 50s, awesome. Do it. Great idea. Jim Rogers is one of my big mentors. He'd have kids till his 60s. Good for him. Good. Well, that's ridiculous. No, it's not. You're ridiculous. You don't realize how long people are living now and your opportunities to be a very strong, healthy, spry, old man. Watch me when I'm 80. I don't know if you guys will still be around by then. I don't know if I'll be around by then doing YouTube videos, but pay attention to me in my 70s. I will have no problems playing sports with teenagers. I have more energy right now as a man who's about to turn 53 than the vast majority, damn near 100%, 95% of men in their 20s I know right now. Okay? Okay. Number one. Number two, you cannot have children. This is the next criteria. So that and, these are not or, these are and. And you have hit most of your major financial goals in life. The vast majority are nowhere near that. Some of you have. Good for you. You can have kids now if you're over the age of 35. I didn't say all of your financial goals, but you're making good money. You've got your Alpha 2.0 business nice and solid. You're making good location-dependent income. Great. You are now prepared to have kids. Having children and raising children correctly is one of the most expensive goddamn things you will do in your entire life. Less so if you do it outside the Western world, which I'm going to cover in a minute. You need to have money. Children deserve a father who is financially stable and can afford to raise them in the way in which they deserve. A father who is strong, a father who is smart, a father who has wisdom. You don't have wisdom when you're 26 and 32. Sorry, you don't. A man who has emotional control. How much emotional control do you have when you're 29? Okay. And a man who has money. If you're going to have kids, fucking do it right or don't do it. The world's fucked up enough without you adding more fucked up children to the earth. Okay? All right. Next thing, and I've said this very clearly, and a lot of you don't like this, but I'm right. If you insist on violating this advice and having children in the Western world with a Western woman, if you're an American, you're going to have children with another American woman living in America. God help you. In the modern era, Jesus Christ. You insist on having children in the Western world with a woman who lives in the West. You must have a 6-figure income or be a multimillionaire, one of the two, minimum. Why? Because you will not be able to afford having kids in the Western world and raise them properly. You won't. Because you people have been voting for the lesser of two evils now for 40 fucking years straight, you have destroyed your own economies. You've jacked up inflation to the stratosphere. So if you make $48,000 a year and your baby mama is a waitress at a pizza restaurant, you cannot afford to have children in the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia. You can't. You can't afford it. You can do it, but these children will be raised in a state of poverty and stress and chaos, and you will create more fucked up people to add to this fucked up world. Thank you very much, you fucking moron. Don't do that. If you insist on staying in the collapsing Western world, already you're insane. Okay? You're going to have children there with Western women. I hope, and some of you are in this category, I hope you make a 6-figure income. I hope you're at least a multimillionaire. You have a net worth of at least, let's say, $2 million. At least. Okay, fine, go ahead. You really want to do that. Otherwise, you have to follow my advice, what I'm about to talk about. So those are 3 parameters of having children. There's other ones I could talk about. Feel free to get my book, The Unchained Man, at alphamalebook.com. It's only, I think, $7-8. I have 2 entire chapters in there on how to raise children as an alpha male 2.0. I did it. My kids turned out pretty well. Those of you who have seen Josh's videos, he's doing pretty well in life. That's my son. All right? Okay. Let's see. It can't be that hard. Everyone has kids. How good are these kids? Have you seen Gen Z? How quality are these kids? What did I say? I was very clear with my language. Having kids is easy. Raising kids is the biggest, most complicated, stressful, expensive, draining project of your entire life. Raising the kids. You can have kids. I could have 100 children right now. So, and many of you could too. And I'm exaggerating slightly, but not much. I could impregnate about 8 different women right now and have babies. I could do it right now. It'd be pretty easy. Coming inside a girl is pretty easy. That's not the problem. It's after that when the baby's born and you want to raise it. Or worse, you abandon the goddamn kid. I've talked about this. Men who abandon their children are the worst pieces of shit on earth. Talk about making the world a worse place. Okay. All right. What else do I want to say about this here? Look at my notes here. Okay. So that's the first thing. Okay. Next, before I get to this, I 2 disclaimers in case people misunderstand what I'm about to say here. Because what I'm about to say can be very easily misconstrued unless I give these disclaimers. Number 1, disclaimer. I support the concept of child support. I disagree completely about how Western governments manage that thing called child support. I think it's completely mismanaged, and it is evil and destructive and chaotic and wrong and immoral on the way the United States, Canada, Europe handles the concept of men paying child support for women. It's completely mishandled. However, and I've been very clear about this for 15 years on the internet, I support the concept of men paying for the kids they create. Unless the woman has lied to you and manipulated you in getting her pregnant. There are rare, weird scenarios that occur, but they're pretty rare. 99% of the time, when a guy gets a woman pregnant, it's either on purpose or it's oops, and you came inside a woman without birth control because you're horny and you're stupid. Okay? So that means you got to pay for that kid. And if you don't pay for that kid, as I said before, you are a piece of shit. Men who have children who don't financially support those kids, unless the woman is these rare 2-3% scenarios where she's, mitigating circumstances. 97% of the time, when men don't pay for their kids, they are pieces of shit and they are making the world a worse place. If you have children, you should pay the wife of that child or whatever to help support that kid for the rest of your life. You don't, you are a goddamn piece of shit, in my opinion. Okay? Okay. I divorced my first wife. I had 2 children. I took care of them financially, even when it was hard to do so. I was late sometimes when it was, horrible economies. I was late in making those payments sometimes. Yes, but they were paid and I wanted to pay them. I love my kids. Okay? Okay. Number 1, I'm going to talk about child support and countries that don't have child support, how good that is. And you're going to assume you shouldn't pay for kids. That's not what I said. You must pay for children. Remember, I said that. Disclaimer number 1. Disclaimer number 2. I've been very clear about this. When you have children, a man has a child with a woman, you must raise that kid, which means you can't just leave the woman and abandon her because she lives in Vietnam and you live in Australia. That's shitty. You're a piece of shit. Okay? You need to raise that kid. That means you need to spend time with that children from age 0 to age 18 at least. Once they're 18, do whatever you want. They're adults at that point. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Or from age 0 to 18, or let's even say 16, you need to spend significant time with that kid on a yearly basis. Can you live in another country for a few months a year and be away from the kid a few months a year? Yes, you can. Go to my blog. I wrote an entire article about how you can structure that and make that work. Yes, but you have to spend time raising your kid. I'm sorry. You have to do that. Otherwise, don't get women pregnant. You dumb shit. You have to spend time. Don't add more fucked up people to the earth. I only donate to one. I don't talk about this publicly a lot. I don't or at all, but I donate to charity every month. Every month I donate to charity. It's one charity, and it helps fatherless children. That's my thing. Fatherless children create all kinds of problems in society in the world, and you're creating more when you abandon your kids. Okay? Even if the chick is some random FB you don't even like very much. Fine, doesn't matter. We're not talking about the woman. We're talking about your kids. Okay? Okay. So remember I said you need to spend time raising those kids within certain 5 flags parameters if you need to. You can have long distance children. That's okay. If you're gone for 4 months a year and you're back 7 months a year, you can make that work. I talk about that at my blogs, alphamale20.com/blog. Okay? All right. Okay. So with those disclaimers and those parameters out of the way, you have to have the requirements for having a child. I support child support. You need to spend time raising your kids. Remember those 3 things as I go along. All right? All right. Here is reason number 1 that if you want to have kids and you qualify for it, you should only have them with women who are A, non-Western. Let me define what non-Western means. She does not have a passport to a Western country. That's what non-Western means. So if she has an American passport, sorry, can't have kids with her. Sorry. Unless you're a multimillionaire. Then do whatever you want. Okay? Non-Western woman who lives in a non-Western country. So that means she cannot live in the United States, Canada, anywhere in Europe, including Eastern Europe, those you like high drama Russian women, that counts. Matter of fact, they're just as bad. I'm going to talk about them in a minute. Can't live in Australia, can't live in New Zealand. Where else am I forgetting? That's about it. That's a lot of the rest of the world, dude. It's a lot of the rest of the world. Now, let me address you semi-racists. I want white children because I need to save the white race. There are plenty of white women in South America. Go to Paraguay, go to Brazil, go to Argentina. Lots of white girls. Lots of white girls here in Dubai who are non-Western. There's white women who are non-Western all over the fucking place. You just got to look around. Okay? Those of you who are weird about, I want white children. Fine. Okay? Now, so you want to have kids with a non-Western woman who lives outside the West once you qualify. Reason number 1. When you, as we have been discussing in the red pill world for 15, well, let's say 10 years. How old is red pill? 10, 12 years. And as I've discussed in my blogs for 15, 16 years, when you have a child with a Western woman living in a Western country, you do not decide how child support is determined, how much money you have to pay her. You don't decide this. And she does not decide this. She doesn't. She can decide whether or not she wants your money. She can decide that. But other than that, if there's money involved, she doesn't decide. Who decides? Your government. Your big, stupid, collapsing, quasi-authoritarian, quasi-socialist, left-wing, including the United States right now under Trump, left-wing government is going to tell you what you're going to pay her for the next 18 years, sometimes even 21 years, my God. And if you don't pay her that money, whether or not it makes any sense, you will go to fucking prison. And I personally know and have met and talked to men who were in jail because they couldn't make their child support payments. I was in jail. Well, I was in jail for, what was it called? Contempt of court. I did a whole YouTube video. You can watch it 7 years ago. I explained it. But it was in relation to this child support stuff. Okay? That's how this works. If you have a baby with a woman who is a Western woman living in the collapsing West. This includes non-Western women living in the USA. So I know what some of you are thinking. I know my audience. So, okay, what I'll do is, Caleb, what I'll do. I live in America. Okay, I live in the United States. I'm going to move out someday. I agree with your points, Caleb. Yeah. But I right now I live in the United States. Okay. What I'll do is I'll have a baby with this hot Asian girl I know from the Philippines. And I'll have a baby with her. She lives here, but she's not Western because she's Filipino. And then it'll all work. Wrong. If she has a green card, that's what means she lives there. Watch what happens. Be an American, impregnate a woman who is a non-American, but who has a green card in the United States and is a resident of the United States, and you don't pay her any child support. Watch what happens, dumbass. You're going to get your paycheck garnished. If that doesn't work, you're going to jail. Unless she doesn't want any of your money. Sometimes you get lucky. Okay, it doesn't matter. Well, what if she has a temporary work visa? Then she doesn't live in America. I'm not talking about, I said live in the Western world. If she's from Lithuania and she's on a work visa and it expires in 7 months and she's got to go back to Lithuania in 7 months, she doesn't live in America or Canada, wherever you are. She doesn't live there. She's temporarily there. That doesn't count. But she's Lithuanian, which is Western. That's European. Sorry, still doesn't apply. So if she has a visa and she's leaving soon, I guess do whatever you want. I talk about non-Western women living outside the West, not a non-Western woman who lives in the West. She still is applicable to most of those laws, including child support laws. You don't believe me? Look this up. I looked all this shit up. Now let me give you the alternate scenario. You have a baby, you have children with a non-Western woman living in a non-Western country. Here's a hypothetical scenario, okay? You're an American with an American passport, all right? You are living in Colombia, okay? You're living in Colombia. Your girlfriend is from Peru. No, let's make it interesting. Your girlfriend is from Thailand. She's Thai, okay? She's Thai, but she lives in Colombia, right? You decide to have a baby with her, you have a baby with her. And you do it on purpose because you qualify for the requirements of having children. Don't be a dumb shit. Okay? She has a baby, and then at some point in the relationship, she says, I want money. I want more money than you. And you're like, no, I'm not going to give you more money. That's what we agreed to, or whatever. You have a disagreement. What is her recourse? What government does she go to make sure you pay her child support, her more money? She goes to the Colombian government and says, hey, he's not paying me my child support. They're like, well, he's not a Colombian. This is how Five Flags protects you. Well, he's not Colombian. He's in America. We have no jurisdiction over him. What is she going to do? Is she going to go back to Thailand? She's going to get on a plane back to Thailand, go to the Thai government, and say, this American who lives in Colombia made me pregnant. Here's the baby. And he needs to pay me child support. So make him pay me the child support I want. They'll be like, oh, he doesn't even live here. We have no jurisdiction over him. You are completely and totally protected from the government overreach of how much child support you pay. So now when you have a baby with a woman, or a child with a woman, let's call it a child. Baby, I like babies. Let's call it a baby. You have a baby with a woman outside the West, okay, non-Western woman. Guess who decides how much money she gets? Does any government have anything to do with this? No. Does she decide? No, she can ask. Who decides? You. The power is in you, which it is not when you are dumb enough to have kids in the Western world. Power has nothing to do with you. It's your big, giant, dumb, collapsing government. So now you can decide how much money she gets or doesn't get. That's a conversation you would have with her before having children. I've talked about this in my books. Hey, if we have a kid, here's how much money I'm willing to give you. She goes, well, fuck you, I want more. Well, then don't have a kid with her. Have a kid with someone else. You are in complete control of the finances when you do this outside of the West as a Five Flags man. If you do this in the West as a collapsing, stupid Westerner, you're fucked. And the government has you by the balls. And you will go to jail if you don't pay for this shit. I haven't even talked about visitation yet. That's the next thing. You want these kinds of scenarios. I'm going to repeat this again. Raising children, not having kids, raising children correctly is the most difficult, time-consuming, draining, expensive thing you will ever do in your entire life. If you're going to do this, a lot of you shouldn't do it ever. Some of you shouldn't do it, but do it later. You want to make sure that all the variables are in your control. And the number one most important one, or one of the most important ones, is the finances. This is why when I lived in the United States, I was like, I don't want any more kids. Fuck that. I don't want to deal with child support. Fuck, I was terrified of that shit. Those of you who remember my blog post back when I lived in the US, I wasn't terrified about when I was having sex with lots and lots of girls. I wasn't scared about STDs because I know the statistics, 2% rule. I was worried about pregnancy. I said, I don't care about STDs. Fine, I'll get chlamydia and take a pill. Who cares? It's getting a woman pregnant in the United States, and now she has to go after my child support, and child support in the West is based on your income. That's why you have these women who get pregnant from these famous rappers, and these rappers have to pay them $40,000 a month. It doesn't cost $40,000 a month to raise a kid, but it's based on their income. And my income is pretty good. So I would be I'm terrified, or I was. I don't live in the collapsing US anymore, so I don't have to worry about this. So this is why now my attitude around having kids, I've talked about in my PDM video. I'm cool with having kids, sure, with a non-Western woman. I live in Dubai. I'm an American living in Dubai. Let's say I have a baby with a Ukrainian woman, which would be against the model, let's say. Okay, a lot of you guys have fantasies about this because you're stupid. I have a baby with a Ukrainian woman, and then she wants more money from me. I say, no, I'll give you this, and that's it. That's what we agreed to. What is she going to do? Is she going to go to the government of the UAE and say, have this guy pay me money? No, they're going to say, we don't, what the fuck, get out of our face. They'll laugh her out of the office. Is she going to go fly back to fucking Ukraine in the middle of their war and say, this American who lives in Dubai needs to pay me? No. She has no recourse. So it's literally you and her, which is the way it's supposed to be when you have children with a woman. It should be between the man and the woman on what the financial scenario should be. So when you're Five Flags, non-Western, you have all these options. I am more than happy to have more kids now. I don't want more children. I already have 2. I think I'm good. But if I'm with a woman, a PDM, girlfriend, a wife, who qualifies for that position, and most women don't, who I love very much, and she says, I really want to have a baby with you, I'm totally down for that. She have to agree to my Alpha 2.0 parameters, which I talk about in the Unchained Man. She agrees to all that, and they always do. I've said this before. Have I said this? I don't remember if I said this. There are about, right this second, 6 women who would have children with me right now. Not just PDMs, other women I know, FBs, and 6. Unless I'm forgetting about someone, there might be more. Okay? Because Alpha 2.0 women will want to have babies with you because there aren't very many of us in the world. Next reason, visitation. Same exact thing. If you live in the collapsing Western world and you have a baby with a Western woman living in the Western world, and you have a disagreement over when you should see that kid because you break up or whatever, who decides what the visitation is if there's a disagreement between? Now, if you both agree, it's fine. What happens if you disagree? She says, fuck you. You're not going to have him on Saturdays. Fuck you. You can see him, once every 3 months. And you're like, fuck you. I need to see my kid. She's like, well, fuck you. Who decides what the visitation becomes? Do you decide? Nope, not you. All you guys with kids in the Western world, you know how this works. When you're no longer with your baby mama, you already went, all you guys went through this. You already know what I'm going to say. Is it up to you? No. Is it up to her? No, but she has a little more say than you do because Western laws favor women in most of these cases. In family court cases, this is documented and statistical. This is not my opinion. Who decides? Fucking government does. Some goddamn judge will say, all right, you can see your own child on these days and she'll see them on these days. And if you don't like it, fuck you. There's nothing you can do about it because you were dumb enough to have children in the collapsing West with a Western woman. Notice how these reasons have nothing to do with the quality of Western women. It's not like Western women suck and American women are cunts and you should have an Asian girl instead. I'm not saying any of that. I think Western women are amazing. I love American women. Not all of them, but a lot of them I think are great. I love European girls. Oh my God. I can tell you a story right now if something happened. I can't. Well, maybe I can a little bit of Q&A if you want to know. Love European women. Love American women. Australian women, okay. Like Canadian women. They're great. The problem is this government shit, and I'm not doing the reasons. So, same deal. If you have children with a woman outside the West, a non-Western woman living outside the West, who decides visitation? You and her. It's not just you. She has some say, obviously. Okay? But the government has nothing to goddamn do with it. That variable of your collapsing quasi-authoritarian, quasi-socialist government is completely out, where it's a variable you have to factor in if you have children in the West. So if I have children with my PDM, my Paraguay PDMs, or my Dubai PDM or whatever, it's up to me and her. No government has any jurisdiction over my relationship with my children. You know how powerful that is? You know how awesome that is? Could there be disagreements? Of course. That's part of what you risk when you have children. You risk disagreements with the mom. You risk that in the West. You risk that outside the West. That's a woman risk, not a Western risk. So you still have that risk, sure. That's why you have to qualify women for OLTR PDM before you do this using my models. 6 months minimum, blah, blah, blah. I've gone through all the models. Okay. All right. Next one. Next reason. This is reason number, what are we up to? Reason number 3. This is where Western women are different. It's not a negative. It's just a cultural thing for Western women. I'm not talking about Western women are cunts or they're woke or that stuff. I'm not talking about that. I am going to cover the woke stuff in a minute. That's another reason. Reason number 3, and I've mentioned this in my books. When you have children in the West with a Western woman, that Western woman, because of A, the West, the culture of the West, and B, the economics of the West, she's going to have expectations about how much money will need to be spent on that child. Assuming you both now agree and the child support's being paid or whatever you're paying, okay? She's going to have expectations about how much that, let's say it's a boy. The kid's sports is very expensive. The kid's extracurricular activities, how much birthdays are going to cost, how much presents he gets on his birthday, how much presents he gets on Christmas, trips he takes, when he's a teenager, when he gets his first car, when he's not a teenager, if he wants that big expensive $900 go-kart for fucking Christmas. She's going to have a level of expectations on the financial expense of what your child, quote, deserves as a child. And these are going to be very expensive. Am I generalizing? Yes. Are all Western women like this? No. But in general, even nice Western women, here's what Western women do when they raise kids. Those who've been married, you understand this works. The woman who your wife or your live-in girlfriend when you have kids with them, what the woman does is she looks around her neighborhood at all the other moms and she talks to all of her mom friends and her sister who have kids, and she looks at what they do. And so, well, when Johnny down the street, his mom, whenever it's his birthday, his mom spends $500 and they go to this big expensive fucking place and they rent out this giant room and they get all this cake and all these pizzas and all this stuff. And there's a clown and it's like $500 fucking dollars. Okay. So then your wife / girlfriend will come back to you. So, well, what Johnny should do for his 4th birthday is he should go to da-da-da center, just like that. And you're like, well, how much is that? Oh, it's about $500. First, she'll say she's a girl. She's like, I don't know. Well, look how much. Well, it's about $500. And you're like, fuck that. And then you have an argument. Again, I said already, if you have a multi-6-figure income or you're a multimillionaire, do whatever you want. And even then that might piss you off. I'm at those levels. I wouldn't like having a fucking kid spending $600 on a 4-year-old's birthday. I think it's fucking stupid. I'm not going to pay for this shit. But I realize I'm a cheap ass. I understand. Western women are going to have that expectation. They are. And if you don't like that, you're going to have drama and conflict with your baby mama. By the way, this assumes you're still with your baby mama. So if you're not with her, it's not relevant. But the goal, for most of you, is to be with the baby mama, right? Be part of her life. Right. Let's say you do this outside the West. I have direct personal experience with this over the past several years. Okay. Even beyond that. I have seen women have babies, non-Western women living outside the West, in high-end countries like UAE, in low-end countries like Paraguay, have children, have babies, and I've watched their expectations for these kids. It's no big deal, especially in places like South America, Southeast Asia, where the cost of living is much cheaper. They don't have these grandiose expectations of just completely kissing these kids' asses and buying them iPhones when they're 9 years old. They don't have these expectations. They're perfectly happy having the kid have some good clothes and go to a good school, live in a safe neighborhood. They're very happy with this, non-Western women. Am I generalizing? Yes, I'm generalizing. Not all Western women are like this. You can have gold diggery, cunty, non-Western women, of course. Eastern Europeans. You can have that. Okay, it's fine. But you get my point. So that's just another level of bullshit you're likely not going to have to put up with if you have children with a non-Western woman outside the West. I mean, it just is. Generally speaking, there are exceptions. And this goes back to qualifications for an OLTR or a PDM. You need to have these discussions during the OLTR talk. How many kids do you want? Do you want kids? When do you want them? And assuming you want kids too, you discuss how are they raised? Are they going to be homeschooled? I've already said, if you have kids in the West, they need to be homeschooled. You're insane if you send your children to, oh my God, even public schools in the West are, it makes me shudder, the shit I hear about this with guys who have kids in the West. Oh God, the shit they're learning in school and the way that your daughter will turn to a boy by the time she's 16, you fucking moron. Anyway, be aware that Western women are going to have high expectations. Let me throw in these Russians /FSU /Eastern European women. Same with them. Those of you who are dumb enough to say, well, I don't mind drama. I want to marry a Russian girl. The expectations she's going to have for financial expense for raising that kid are going to be pretty significant. Just like an American woman. Get ready. I wouldn't do that. That's why I consider Eastern Europe still in the West. Okay? Next reason. Woke shit. I'm not talking about necessarily the woman you have children with, but if you have children and you raise them in a Western country in the modern era, the collapsing 2020s and the 2030s, if you really want to do this, I hope you are a far left woke person. If you are a left-wing woke person and you really think there's 27 genders and anyone doesn't think that is an asshole, and you really think Trump is Hitler and Kamala would have been a great president, if you really think that, great. This won't apply to you. If you're a hard left woke person, you're perfectly fine with what I'm about to say. If you are not that person, your child will be raised in the Western world in a hard left woke environment. And no, Trump won't fix it. Snow White just came out. Did he fix that? Okay. You're going to have to accept the fact that in school, including private schools, now, years ago, decades ago, the public schools were shit, but the private schools were pretty good. That is no longer true. That's been true for at least 20 years. The private schools are just as fucking bad as the public schools. Not quite as bad. They're still awful. With this left-wing woke shit, it's awful. It's in the West. They're terrible, including the Catholic and Christian private schools. I went to a private school for a few years when I was a kid in the 80s. And that was better, even though it was a bunch of Catholic bullshit. You need to be aware that your kid is going to be wired in with all this woke shit. Now, if you're a woke left-winger, you'll be happy. If you are not that, and I had a little bit of this experience raising my kids in the 90s. I had a little bit of this in the early 2000s before it got really bad. My kids would come home and they'd be singing a song. You got to recycle. You got to recycle everything to save the earth. And I'm like, what the fuck? My wife did. I'm like, what the fuck are they singing? Oh, they learned it at school. Isn't it great? No, it's not. And they loot all this shit about the rainforest and all the rainforest, and they're chopping down the rainforest. I'm like, when was World War II? They're like, what's that? Okay. And that was fucking 25 years ago, and my kids were little. My kids are adults now. Get ready for this. If you don't want this, raise them outside of the West. Is there aspects of woke bullshit in some non-Western countries? Of course. You live in Brazil, you know what's going on there. Holy fuck. Okay, yes, there are some countries that have some woke aspect to them. Are they as woke as Western Europe and America and Canada? Not even fucking close. And there are many countries that don't have any woke shit. I'm in two. I live in Dubai. There's no woke shit here. None. And I live in Paraguay. There is no woke shit in Paraguay. It's a right-wing country. None. There's a few woke people if you look around, but in terms of the culture, it's not woke. You raise a kid in Dubai and Paraguay, there's going to be no woke shit. None. If you bring it up, people go, what the fuck? What the fuck are you talking about? Bring up woke shit here in Dubai. Just start talking your woke shit and watch it people's face like, what the fuck? What? And they'll say, are you an American? Yeah. Good job, Americans. It's great. So that's reason number 4. You'll do on time. Perfect on time. That's it. Those are the 4 reasons. I can think of others. Some of you can probably think of others. But sorry. I'm sorry about this. I don't like this. Just like when I say America's collapsing in your lifetime. I don't like to say that. I don't bring joy from telling you this information, but I'm right. If you want to have kids, once you qualify for them, do it with non-Western women living outside the West. You're going to avoid 10,000 problems that Western men will have raising kids in the West. Unless, again, you are a multi-gazillionaire and you don't care. Fine. Then do whatever you want. Most of you are not in that category. Some of you are. There are, you are. Some of you are making 7 figures, 6 figures. Great. And your location dependent. Awesome. You can bend these rules if you like. Fine. I hope you're not woke. All right. That's it. Answer your questions here. I'll stay for as long as I can. How did you grow numbness to women ghosting you and or being rude to you at the first dates? Outcome independence, outcome independence, outcome independence. Read my book, The Unchained Man, and do all the outcome independent stuff in there. I'm outcome independent. I don't care about what one random woman I'm ever going to see again does or says. You don't need any one woman to get laid. You don't. It's a statistical pool of women, and you have sex with a few of them. So what any given one woman does, it's like making sales calls. If you make 100 sales calls, do you need all 100 people to be nice to you and say yes? No. If you're doing sales calls, you're selling something that's several $1,000s, 95 of the 100 people can tell you to go fuck yourself and fuck your mother, click and hang up on you and be totally rude. And 5 buy and you have all the money you want. So it doesn't matter. What's the absolute worst thing about Russian women? There are several different things. They combine the worst aspects of gold diggers, right-wing traditional conservatives, and dominance. I heard you're hoping to have another kid with one of your PDM. That is incorrect. I'm not hoping. I'm open to having kids, my PDMs. It looks like that's not going to happen. As far as I know, there's some things I can't tell you yet, but as far as I know, none of my active PDMs want children. So Pink Firefly doesn't want kids. My Paraguay PDM doesn't want kids. I'm adding a third one though, and that's a wild card. Why exactly do you want to have kids? I don't. What exactly are you looking for from having other kids? I'm not. What's the right attitude to have when going after really attractive women and not being fazed by their looks? Sometimes I feel like I need to be on their level. Again, are you the same guy that asks? Yeah, you're very outcome dependent, Darius. Relax. You just relax and tell yourself to relax. Take a deep breath. I don't need you. I don't need her. I don't need her. I don't need you. Whenever I'm sitting across, not anymore, now it's automatic, but back in the day, when I sat across for like a 9 or a 10, I would remind myself, relax, deep breaths. It's okay. I don't need this bitch. I don't need her. There's another one around the corner. I don't need her. What to say when I call companies to find out about their problem? With Billy and Monday said you should never ask directly what their main problem is. Billy doesn't like the question, what is your biggest problem? I do. What she would say is things like, so what if you could wave a magic wand, what's the one thing you would change in your business? Or what keeps you up at night? Things like that. Less direct. Brazil women are good in bed. They ride your hips like no other, even the young women. Yes, Brazilian women are really good in bed. And that's true of most Hispanic women. Correct. ChatGPT said if you make 10K USD a month in Russia, you could live like a king and have a huge harem of smoking hot 21 Russian girls. Absolutely you could. And you'd have so much fucking drama, you'd want to jump off a goddamn cliff unless you like drama like Andrew Tate. How was Ramadan in Dubai? I did not celebrate it because I'm not Muslim, but it was fine. Why during the cerveza sickness, Americans were protesting and showed rebellion in the streets? Is it an American culture thing? The Chinese people were compliant because Americans are more individualism than Chinese people. Chinese people are collectivist. So the Asian cultures are more collectivist and top-down authoritarian. So if God, meaning their government, says, don't do this, they'll go, okay, and they won't do it. Whereas if you tell Americans, as I predicted before it happened, if you tell Americans, stay in your house for 6 months, Americans are going to go crazy and burn down cities. Exactly what I said and exactly what occurred. I predicted that accurately. I'm an employee, how to quit because I got tired of the management bullshit as they seem incompetent and make rules even though they don't know shit about it. How to quit? You just quit. You're being that's a pussy question, Jewel. You're being a pussy. How do I quit my job? You send a text to your boss saying, I quit. I'm not coming in this morning. Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you for your time. That's it. So you do it. Thoughts on El Salvador Bitcoin passport program where you invest 1 million in Bitcoin and get an El Salvador citizenship. There are easier ways to get passports. Did you know that the United States, Germany, and Saudi Arabia are the countries with the most immigrants? Thoughts? I would need to verify that with data. Germany, I'm not surprised. Germany, I'm not surprised. United States, not surprised. Saudi Arabia, perhaps. You need to show me links. Do you think having, really quick, The UAE has more immigrants per capita than most countries too. That's okay if you don't have a welfare state. You can have 91% of your population be immigrants. That's Dubai. 91% of Dubai is immigrants, and it works like clockwork. Why? There's no welfare state here. People don't come here for free money. They say very clearly, you come here and you have no money, you got two choices. You can get a job, you can starve to death and die, or you can get the fuck back to your country. That's the correct way to handle immigration. What you don't do is what America and the collapsing West does, Canada, Western Europe. Sure, come on over. We'll give you all the free money you want. We'll just tax these idiot Americans and raise their inflation rates and raise their taxes, give you a bunch of free stuff. And you guys go, no, it's bullshit, but you don't leave. And you vote for Trump thinking he'll fix it. How's that working out for you? You guys want American stocks. Do you think having remote cleaning business is a good idea? I know guys making 10 and 20 a month with this model. Only problem is not niche. That's my problem with it. It's not niche. Niche it. What do you think is the reason for most people to have kids? Everyone has different reasons. Mostly it's societal. Why do you think people have kids? Is it for a legacy thing? How about you personally? Okay, so it depends on men and women are different. Women have strong biological wiring that by age 28, they want to have babies. Not all. A lot less women are having kids now. I've talked about this. But women have biological wiring wanting to have babies. It usually kicks around age 28. And most women who have kids always want to have two. It's rare to see a woman have one kid. They always want two. They don't want three. They want two. Western women, at least. A, B. Yeah, men want it for a lot of different reasons. Legacy, to fit in, to impress mommy and daddy, because it's been your fantasy. My mom's fantasy in life was have kids. It's different for everybody. How about you personally? When I was in the 90s as a young beta male, I really wanted to have kids. I wanted to have two kids, a boy and a girl, which is exactly what I got. Why did I want it? I don't know. I couldn't tell you why. I really wanted it badly. It's the main reason, the primary reason I bothered to get married at all back then in 1996, whenever I got married the first time as a young, stupid beta male. And I shouldn't have got married because I was too young. Why do you think you decide you want to have another kids now? I'll be honest with you. Now, I don't want to have kids, but I would. I'll be honest. I love babies. I miss holding a baby in my arms. I love babies. Pink Firefly and I have that in common. We don't want our own children, but I love babies. And I miss that feeling of having a baby and a little kid. Once they turn into little kids and teenagers, not as fun. But I enjoyed being a dad. I love my children. And again, I'm a lot more mature than I was when I was 26 having kids. I have a lot more outcome independence. I have a lot more emotional control. I certainly have a lot more money. I would be a much better father today. I was not a bad father, but I was pretty good. But I'd be a great father now because I'm older. I'm 53. You mentioned the past, not all women should have kids. Correct. I have an entire video on, what did I say? Most Western women shouldn't have kids? Yeah. Since a lot of women have had kids who shouldn't have, what current problems has this created in the world due to this? Welfare state and bankrupting governments. In the United States, the poor people blame the government for income inequality. Well, they're right. That is inaccurate. The left is correct about that. The primary reason you have these massive income disparity in the United States is because of government interference in the economy. That is actually true. And the UK, they blame rich people. Okay. They blame rich people in the United States too, dude. So the British think you are an evil rich man. If so, how did you react? No one has called me an evil rich man in my face. One FB I had 15 plus years ago who was like 19. She was about to say, well, you're a rich guy, so you're an asshole. She was about to say it, and she stopped herself. I can see it in her eyes. I see, you don't want to say that. Some people are telling me it's really important that I have kids now and get married. I'm 31. Correct. Societal programming. If a man decides to have kids, should we just keep it to one country outside the West? That's if multiple children are involved having 3 kids. It's going to be easier if you have all your kids in one country. Absolutely true. Yes. 5 more kids, I like to keep them in Paraguay. I don't think I want them here in Dubai, but I could. But I wouldn't want 2 or 3 kids in Dubai and 2 or 3 kids in Paraguay. I could do that, but that's not ideal. Yeah, keep it one. Keep it simple, man. What did I say? Having kids are the most complex, difficult things you'll do in your life. You want to keep it simple and put all the variables in your control. What do you think about the niches? Small wineries that use organic grapes in my region. Don't they all use organic grapes? That's fine. Small companies that renovate apartments for private people in my city. Probably okay. I don't know why you want to use your area and your city, because you want it to be location independent. So I have a feeling you're going to go visit these people in person and try to do business in person. That is a violation of Alpha 2.0 models. Will you ever do a chat GPT AI tool where people can ask questions and have it train all your content? But John Anthony Lifestyle did he sells it? No, I will not. Here's why. The economics. I'd have to spend X number of thousands of dollars doing it, and I could charge 37. How much is John's thing? $30? I don't want to sell a $30 thing. I have no interest. I always have a deck of cards on my desk. Each card represents a week of the year. Cool. Each suit represents a quarter. Visual countdown says we focus on 12-year goals. Really cool technique. I like it a lot, dude. I go on the holiday each 13th week king to reflect and plan my new quarter. Dude, I love it. That's a really cool technique. Wish I thought of that. That's awesome. Love it to death. That's great. I once saw a video of a Spanish girl getting fucked in a Lamborghini SUV in Ibiza by a white guy with tattoos. She had a thick booty. Now I have this fantasy. Have you ever had a fantasy like this, getting fucked in a Lamborghini? No. I think you are, if you just watch one video and that's your fantasy, that's your big fantasy, you're easily influenced. I would be careful. How do you fulfill a fantasy? I have fulfilled all of my fantasies. I've had some crazy, wild, weird fantasies. I have fulfilled them all. How do you fulfill them? Good question. Very simple. Dating skills, which means dating skill, confidence, outcome, independence. Maximizing your looks within your age, height, and genetics as best as you can. And then massive amounts of numbers of women. You do those 5 things, you will fulfill any fantasy you want. I have. Shit I never thought I would do. There's no way I could did it. Did it with more than one set of women. Still doing it. My fantasies are now normal. God, I want to tell you guys something so bad. Maybe I can hint at this thing. Okay, I can give you a hint. So my big fantasy throughout my life, which I've done many times, is mother and daughter. Sometimes mother and 2 daughters. Not at the same time, not a threesome, separately. Okay? I've done that many times now. Okay? I'm just going to say this. Ongoing relationship with mother and daughter when they're both aware of each other, what they're doing, with mother's blessing. And mother and daughter are both really hot. Can't tell you anything more than that. So you can do anything you want. Confidence, outcome, independence, game skill, maximize your appearance as best as you can within reason. Lots of numbers. Seems Gen Z has not learned from previous generations at all. No generation, including boomers, has learned from previous generations. Starting with boomers, Gen X, my generation, millennials and Gen Z, you're all idiots. Yeah. Seems to be an increase in single mothers amongst Gen Z. Is there? I haven't seen the data on that. I don't think that's correct, but okay. Thoughts on the U.S. Supreme Court allowing Trump use the Alien Enemies Act for 1798 for deportations. You are paying attention to too much news. None of this is going to matter in 3 weeks. In Dubai, there's a restaurant called Coco Grill and Lounge. Okay. You should attend. It's located in Al Marouj Complex. Andrew Tate was there with his Bugatti a couple days ago. Just because Andrew Tate was there, I should go there? No. You know how many good restaurants are in Dubai? Thousands. Read your blog about raising a child. You said you will only see your new children around 6 to 7 months per year. That's a minimum, right? Correct. How is that not abandoning your kids? Abandoning your kids means you never see them ever again. That's what the word abandon means. You need to use dictionary definitions of words when you speak English, Adam. So if you see your children 6, 7 months a year, I would want to see them more than that. You're not abandoning them. You're with them most of the year. And then you do Zoom calls. And what did I say in that blog post? It's not ideal. I said that, didn't I? I said it's not ideal. Ideal is 12 months a year. So anything less than 12 months, it's not ideal. But it's doable. It's not abandoning your kids. Especially kids age 0. Well, I answer that. What's your best advice to delegate in your company? That's a very broad question. Working with people is one thing. Have you learned that it's not talked about? Working with people, what's the one thing you've learned that's not talked about? I've talked about everything, so is Billy. How do you find competent people to work for you? Very broad questions I can answer in a quick Q&A like this. I said nothing mean to a woman. I asked her for a number on Bumble. She wrote, fuck you. I unmatched and reported her obscenity, and Bumble said they would delete my account if I did that again. She reported you? Why did you report a woman to Bumble? Stop doing that. You're outcome dependent. If a woman says fuck you, you block her and move on. Why did you take the time out of your day to report her to Bumble? Who cares? You guys are being very outcome dependent, very pussyish about this. Move the fuck on. Who cares about random chicks you'll never see again? Why do you care? Ask yourself, why does that bother me so much? I'm going to spend time. I'm going to report her. God, why? What the fuck is your problem? Who cares? Did you know that Jackson, Wyoming is so expensive because of billionaire paradise? Yes, I do know that. The average house costs $2 billion. Yes, I know. Harrison Ford lives there. I know that. Mm-hmm. What is one place no one talks about, but there are lots of wealth that you know or have visited? There's all kinds of little enclaves. I mean, I'd have to think about it. I visit all kinds of little wealthy enclaves. But Jackson's not an enclave. That's a big region. Is having kids declassing wets a bad idea also because kids now don't want to reach full independence when they're way into their 20s or 30s? No, because in Latin America, that's the standard. And in places like Pakistan, children live with their parents well into their mid-30s till they get married. That's the norm outside the West. So no, that's not a problem. No. I mean, go to Pakistan. There are people in their 30s still living at home with their parents. Paraguay, too. There are people in their 30s and even sometimes 40s live with their parents, and they get married to their wives, and they stay with their parents because that's just a culture. It's a cultural thing. So no. I think I'm addicted to losing because when I get success, I feel uncomfortable. How to stop feeling like a loser, because my entire life people have told me I'm a loser, including my family. You may need to go see a therapist. And I know you're saying, I don't want to do that. I tried that once. You may need to go see someone. If it's that bad, a lot of soul searching, a lot of reading good books, inspirational books, a lot of positive self-talk. Go watch my videos on destroying your current self. A lot of that stuff. It's going to be a lot of work, but you probably need to talk to somebody. I have a lifetime premium on Bundle because I've had so many matches. Okay, great. You've been living in Dubai for the amount of 4 years. What have you learned about Dubai? Go back on my Unchained CEO YouTube channel. About 4 or 5 weeks ago, I did an entire thing on 4 years in Dubai, what I learned in Dubai. Go watch that video. I answered that question. Spoke to a guy who lived in Asia for a few years, had a kid with an Asian woman, but has now moved back to the West. So that's abandoning. I don't like that. Is it a bad idea bringing his kid and mom over so the kid gets a passport? That is an absolutely terrible idea. Yes. And I've written entire articles about when you move a woman from the non-West into the West, she becomes Western within a few years. And I've seen it happen. HBM, that happened with one of my girlfriends. Prior to Pink Firefly, my girlfriend / OLTR sort of was HBM. She was a fresh off the boat Filipino. She didn't look Filipino. I don't think Filipinos are attractive. She looked Chinese. Excuse me, she didn't look Chinese. She looked Japanese. She looked like a Japanese Thai mix. She was very cute. And she was 100% Filipino when I first started dating her when I was 19. The picture on her phone was Jesus. Picture of fucking Jesus. And she would talk about how Americans are so fat because they eat gross food like pizza and burgers, and how she would never eat something like that. By the time we broke up 5.5 years later, the picture on her phone was a half-naked picture of Channing Tatum from Magic Mike. And she had gained about 30 pounds, and she loved eating pizza and spaghetti and burgers. And she was smoking weed with black guys. This is what happens. Now, that's not why we broke up. I don't care about any of that stuff. Just telling you guys, because most of you would care about that. This is what happens when you bring a Western woman over to the West. She becomes Western within a few years. Terrible, stupid idea. What about the Hague Convention in terms of child support? Completely irrelevant. How is a Thai girl going to go to the Hague? And it's not going to happen. It's not about what laws are written. It's about what laws are enforced. Because there are laws on the books in most Latin American countries like Colombia and even in Paraguay, I think, that state men should pay child support, but they're not enforced. These governments are tiny and bankrupt. They're not like the giant United States government, which can run the earth. So just because it's written in a law doesn't mean it happens. If the country is a part of origin, she can reach out the country of origin and demand child support. Watch. It's not going to work. Watch. So you're saying the Thai girl could call America, even though the American is living in Colombia? Watch what's going to happen. And she's not a citizen and not a resident, doesn't live in America. She'll have to fly over there, hire an attorney, and she's not going to do that. You're fine. You as an investor, do you buy IPO stocks, meaning initial public? I do not own any American stocks. I haven't for over 15 years. That's insanity, as I've been saying for 15 years. You guys are insane. You guys own American stocks. No, absolutely not. Caleb, you've missed out on these gains. Have you heard of Bitcoin? You know how much money I've made in my investments? You have any idea? I've given you hints on my blogs. You heard of gold? You heard of uranium? There's lots of things that are skyrocketing or have over the past several years that have nothing to do with American stocks. I will not. You own whatever you want. I don't give investment advice anymore. You own whatever you want. I am not going to touch an American stock ever for the rest of my life. And thank God I didn't. You guys in the last few days. Jesus Christ. Or do you invest in mutual funds? Not American mutual funds, not Western mutual funds. No. That pay dividends? No. Outside. And invest in foreign real estate outside the United States. I do not own any real estate at the moment. I've discussed why several times. Isn't it likely that non-Western laws will change and become enforceable in our lifetimes? No. These countries will remain poor. For example, Paraguay signed the Hague Convention on International. Are you the same guy or is you something else? Yeah. You guys who are worried about the Hague Convention, again, I'll give you the worst case scenario. You're an American living in Paraguay. You impregnate an American girl. A Paraguayan girl. And you don't pay her child support. You argue about the child support. Okay. She goes to the Paraguayan government and says, he needs to pay me child support. They're going to laugh her out of the office. They're like, what? Fuck you. They're not going to talk to her. So then she's going to go to America to get American child support. How is a little Paraguayan girl going to get it? She's got to fly to America, hire an attorney in America. You guys don't understand how the real world works. Just because something is written down in a book does not mean it's enforced. Weed was illegal in America prior to like 2016-ish. Everywhere in America. Does that mean no one smoked weed because the cops would bust in your house and arrest you if you smoked weed? No, but it was on the books. You were not allowed to have sex, premarital sex in Dubai prior to 2021. So it was Dubai running around the entire city, arresting everyone on earth, because everyone has sex here, arresting everybody having sex. No, it was written down, but it wasn't enforced, so it couldn't be. It's just, you guys are stupid about this. Do you have a consumer portfolio, meaning you invest in stocks of companies of the products you use? Absolutely not. What do you think of the idea that you have children so they take care of you in your old age? I've written an entire article about this. If you live in the Western world, they're not going to give a fuck about you. They are not going to take care of you in your old age. Your children will be poor. With what's coming? No, that is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. Go read my blog. Go to the archive about children, old age. I've written several articles about how insane that is, especially if you look at the statistics. That was true back in the 50s, the 1800s. Today, that's the stupidest idea on earth. Your kids don't give a fuck about you, and they're not going to give a fuck about you, and they're not going to be able to afford you, and they don't want you when you're old. No, stupid. What's your plan for your old age? My own retirements and my own net worth, which should be your plan. My plan should be your plan. Your own net worth. You cannot rely on your children. You cannot rely on your collapsing government. You. Read Freedom Fortress. I gave you specific data in there, specific numbers. You have two children. Do you think you'll rely on them in your old age? No. I don't want to rely on them. No. Can you imagine hoping your kids make a lot of money so you can rely on them? That's insanity. What sort of men should never have children if they begin to make more money? Also, let's see. So let me give you a few traits. Men who are really anal, really picky about their whole apartment, their whole house. Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be clean. If there's a little mess, like, God damn it, and they clip this little mess. You should never have kids if you're like that. Some guys are like this, really anal dudes, and women too. Do not have kids. You will stress. You'll have a heart attack from stress within the 6 months of that baby puking on you, and it's just stupid. Worse if they're boys and they're like 4 years old and they're running around breaking shit, you're going to lose your goddamn mind. So there's one. Two is if you just don't want to take the time. You don't want to take the time to raise a kid. There are a lot of men like, I don't want to do that. And so they either never have kids or they have a bunch of kids and they abandon them. There's two. Also, the characteristics of a woman you would screen out for not being a mom material. Very big list. High drama, high stress. So Pink Firefly is low drama, but she's very stressy. She should never have kids. And she was smart enough and self-aware enough to know that she didn't have kids. Thank God. She would have been a nightmare. Not a nightmare mother. It would have been a nightmare for her because she just stresses out about stuff. People with short tempers, men and women both, you really short tempers, you just fly off the handle and yell. You need to read my books. You got a problem if you're like that. But people are like that. That's why the statistics, women hit their, in the Western world, women hit their children far more than men hit their children. Because men know they'll go to prison. Whenever I see in the public in the West of parents slapping their kids, it's always a mom slapping her kids. I've never seen a dad slap his kid in the modern era in the Western world. Never seen it. But I've seen tons of women slap their kids. Just want to punch these chicks. Many nations are mad at Trump, of course. And as retaliation, they're ending visa-free travel for American citizens. That's right. Good job, guys. Good job, Americans. Are you worried this will affect your 5 flags of travel in the future? No. My flags are covered. I'm good to go with all my backup plans. Is it wrong for a woman to say they're not the maternal type but still proceed to have children anyway? Yes, that is wrong, in my opinion. Thoughts on Andrew Tate being in Dubai? I've been asked that question 10,000 times. I've answered it many times. I don't care. And I won't see him. 2% rule. I want to buy an Audi S8. However, I'm broke and the car costs 130,000 USD. Well, time to make some money. How to set up goals and achieve them? A very broad question. Go buy my book, The Unchained Man. I have an entire chapter on goal setting. You sound very young, Lamp Kiss. How do you deal with people that ask you for money, like friends and family? Depends if you have money or not. Depends if you're wealthy or not. If you don't have the money, you say, fuck off. If you have the money and you want to help them, here's the best technique I've learned from people who are wealthier than me. This is those of you who have money. If you don't have money, don't do this. Please don't do this. Those of you who have money, because I get asked, and you want to help them, if you don't want to help them, you say, fuck off. You ask me again, I'm blocking your number. I don't care if you're my mom. You got to do that. Okay. But if you want to help them and they're being polite about it, you say, all right, look, can I borrow $6,000? I don't know this problem. This guy, I'm going to lose my. Okay. I want to help you. I love you. So here's the deal. I'll give you the $6,000. It's not a loan. I don't want to deal with you not paying it back and having that between us. It's a gift. However, if I give you this money, we are signing a verbal contract, and either you get something in writing or have a voice note that recorded or a screenshot or something. You and I are signing a contract. It may not be literally signing, but you get my point. You and I are signing a contract that you will never, ever ask me for money ever again for the rest of your life. Ever. That's the contract we're entering into. So if I give this money, the next time you have a problem, you will not ask me. If you do ask me, I'm going to bring up what you agreed to, and I'm probably never going to see you again. So is that a deal? That works. Hello, Caleb. What is your opinion on using? Hang on a second. I need a drink. How are we doing on time? All right, a few more minutes. Hello, Caleb. What is your opinion on using manipulation tactics, dark psychology on women to make them more attracted to you or making them fall in love? Have you used them on women? No, I've never used those specifically, and they don't work. There's no tactic you can use to make a woman fall in love with you. I'm sorry. It doesn't work. Are there tactics you can use to raise your attraction on first, second, third dates? And in relationships? Yes, I teach all of them. Get2sexfast.com and haveopenrelationships.com. Yes, they are tactics and they do work. Will they make her fall in love with you? No. That takes more time and effort, and a lot of that's luck of the draw. So no, but you can use techniques. Yes, you should use techniques. Women use techniques on us. It's called push-up bras and makeup. That's a technique women use to get men to be attracted to them. So we can use techniques too. Fair is fair. Tristan Tate said he makes 135K a day. I don't believe that number. And said how the common men are shit. I agree with that. Yep, I agree with that. In his Dubai live stream. And he told a fat kid to lose weight in Dubai, and people are saying he was rude. Okay, Troy, get off this Andrew Tate stuff. You're too much Andrew Tate content. Don't care. You said you are one of the happiest people I know. Fact. Yes. Joe Osteen is happy. In fact, he wrote a book about this. I don't know his private life, what goes on, if he has any demons, but okay. The name Every Day of Friday. Will you write a book that focuses on happiness? I wrote a book that focuses on happiness. It's called The Unchained Man. You should go read it. The entire book is on long-term masculine happiness. That's what the book is about. That's what all of my content is about. Long-term masculine happiness. The only way you can do that, for most men, not all, is to be as free as possible. To be able to do whatever you want, whenever you want, every day, with whomever you want, consenting adults, for the rest of your life. And if you don't have that, like you're monogamous or you have a job, you won't be happy. Sorry, I disagree, Caleb. You can have children in the West. Just have a residency backup. That doesn't help you get out of child support. And put them in a non-woke private school. They don't exist anymore. Good luck finding one. And be rich. I said rich yes, rich will help. But not the other two. Wouldn't Russia be the exception in Europe? I've read the Russian divorce child laws favor the man, and it's very patriarchal society, and I've heard Russian women make good mothers. Okay, well, yeah, I've heard Russian women can make good mothers. That's probably true. Yes, sure. The exception. I don't consider Russia as part of Europe. Whenever I say Europe, I'm not including Russia. We could debate about whether that's now, what do I say about Russian women is accurate. High drama. You're going to jump off a cliff. Do not date in a serious relationship a Russian woman unless you enjoy drama. Or don't mind drama. Some of you weirdos are like that. Then do whatever you want. You don't want drama. You cannot be with a Russian woman more than an FB. And even with FBs, you're going to deal with some shit. So the issue isn't the laws in Russia. It's Russian women. But when I say Europe or Eastern Europe, I do not include Russia. That's an Asian country. Have you been to Nobu restaurant located in the Palm Jumeirah? I have. I'm sorry, Caleb, these Russian women really have a grip on me. Then you must like drama. Have fun. Thoughts on Andrew Tate saying women belong in the kitchen? I've already addressed that many times. He's an alpha male 1.0 Muslim. That's what they believe, yeah. Are your PDM the type of women that are traditional? Partially, but not as much as Andrew Tate would like. No, I don't care about those things. I'm alpha 2.0. I'm happy. What's the maximum number of kids you think is reasonable for a man to have? When does it come to excessive? Depends on two things. A, your free time as a man. B, how much money you make. So if you have millions of dollars and you work 10 hours a week, well, bro, you could have 9, 10 kids. You can make that work. Sure. If you have a 40, 50-hour a week job and you're making $48,000 a year, you shouldn't have any. You make $100,000 a year, maybe you can have one. Depends on how much money you make, how much time you have to raise those kids. I have seen many Christians in the West, not many, but some people I've personally known who crank out 4, 5, 6 kids, and they have 9 to 5 jobs, and they make $48,000 a year. Oh my God, insane! You can't raise kids properly with that many. And then they get fucking divorced, and now he's got to pay child support. I've told stories like this. Stupid. Did your kids attend public school? Sometimes yes, sometimes it was a little complicated. So Josh attended a charter public school when he was little, then a charter school, and then a private high school. My daughter Alyssa attended a charter school and a all three. So my kids have attended all three, which is what happened to me. I attended a public school, then a private school, then a public school. So all three. How much do you think raising one child costs per year in Dubai? I cannot answer those questions because I don't know what kind of lifestyle you want in Dubai. A cheap lifestyle, a lavish lifestyle. I've discussed that. You need way more information. By the way, I'm talking about kids around 10 years old. You need to give me way more data on your lifestyle. Tunisia women are hot. Take the ferry from Italy. Many Europeans do this. I believe that. Yeah, I believe that. I have no experience with Tunisian women, but man, I've seen some smoking hot Middle Eastern chicks, Northern African chicks, like, Moroccan. So yeah, I believe that. Sad but true about the school, LOL. Woke. I saw my neighbor the first time and I was like, what the fuck? Yep. Read your Freedom Fortress and Inam. What's Inam? Can you compare the pros and cons of raising kids living with the mother versus separate homes? How would you do things if you were to have more kids? Well, you need to go watch my video on PDMs called What I've Been Hiding on this YouTube channel. And I go through details of how I'm managing living arrangements. I'm not going to live with any of my PDMs full time, but I'll see them several times a week. And they can spend the night at various home things like that. Go watch that video. Pros and cons of raising kids while living with the mother. Very complex topic. Some men would never want to live separately than a mother. They would never do that. And then don't. I was very happy living with Pink Firefly for 10 years. I love her. She's great. Some men would be furious if they live with a woman and drive them fucking crazy. So it depends mostly on you. Say I'm ready to have kids at 50 years old, 10 years from now, with a non-Western woman and having my finances together. Okay, fine. What's the ideal age for her to be? Thanks for having the free great value. I've already said this. Max, at least 25 years old. Lowest 25. Older is better. The older, the better within your comfort. I don't want to have kids at 35. Okay, fine, don't. But you don't want kids at a 19-year-old girl. That's stupid. So minimum 25 for any OLTR, PDM, or mothers of your children. I read your Freedom Fortress, and now I'm terrified of AI now. That was a big answer for the survey I'm doing. So you can go to calebjones.com. You should do this if you haven't gone. calebjones.com/poll. And that's one of the topics I list. I'm terrified of AI. That's one of my top responses so far from you guys. Yeah, interesting. Well, you should be scared. You should be very scared and take precautions now. Instead of waiting another 5 years, it'll be Trump to fix it. Was it you or someone else that talked about the story of you and some chick or her friend or mom in a car? I have a story like that. It wasn't sex in the car. It was when I was seeing one of the 18-year-olds I was seeing many years ago, a long time ago, and met her mom, and I was in the car. Oh, maybe this was the story. I was in my car. I was in the driver's seat. 18-year-old girl sitting next to me. Okay, my MLTR at the time. In the back seat was her friend, who was also my FB referral game. We had threesomes and stuff, who was also 18. And then her mom peeked, where we pulled in a parking lot. She was getting something from her mom, and her mom peeked in the window. And that's how I met her mom in person. I knew of her. And we're like, oh, hey. And mom's hot. And so later I fucked mom. Woo! So if that was the story, that happened, yeah. Russian women are dominant. Extremely so. Yes, on the extreme end of dominant, yes. What about other Eastern European women? Yes. Are they dominant? Yes. Not quite as bad as Russians, depending on the country. So Belarusians are just as dominant, but like Ukrainians, less dominant, but still in that zone. Mm-hmm. So to know what the main problem of a company, it is good to simply ask, what do you think of your main problem is your company? In my opinion, yes. In Billy's opinion, no. Would you ever give an employer a 2-week notice before leaving a job? Yes, I would generally do that. And I always did that when I went, yes, I would do that. Unless they really fucked up and really abused me. Yes, I would. Can seeing the occasional safe, clean escort be categorized as an FB? Yeah, sort of. Yes. I simply don't have energy to go to pick up bars and clubs. Do sugar daddy game. In my opinion, you don't have to, because those are more normal girls. Hookers are not normal. Hookers are like fucking a robot. It's a whole different thing, which is why I've never fucked a hooker. But some guys like hookers. Great. Sure. And yes, you could, a regular woman you pay for sex can be considered an FB because you don't date FBs. Yeah, it's fine. If you live with your wife and son and you are in an open relationship, only the man, how do you meet up with other women? I did this with Pink Firefly for years. Buy my book, The Ultimate Open Marriage Manual, at open-marriage.com. I cover 11 different ways you can fuck girls not in your house when you live with a woman. What I did is I had an office. I talked this many times, 4 years ago when I was still in the United States. Had an office that I set up as a little apartment with no windows in a private part of the building without a reception area. And I'd see FBs there. I had a bed in there, a futon. It was great. That was awesome. I did that for a few years. It was wonderful. What do you think of Egypt as a place to live, potentially start a family? That would not be my first choice at all. Not horrible, but would not be my first choice. There are many other countries I picked for Egypt. How do you think AI will change dating over the next 5 to 10 years? Big topic. 10, I don't know. 5, not much change. Whatever is going on now is going to exacerbate. Less young women having sex, more sugar daddy game. As an introvert, what does your daily routine look like? I'm guessing you work all morning and are home a lot. You're correct about that. I'm home all day, unless I go out and do something. I'm also an INTJ who works from home and curious what your ideal day looks like. I can summarize it. Not every day is exactly the same. I have days of the week. So like Mondays and Wednesdays are my meeting days. So I have lots of meetings on those days. So it's not, what does every day look like, Caleb? Every day looks different because I have different days of the week. Thursdays is my content day. I work my content. What I've been doing the last several months is I don't have a morning routine anymore. I wake up, I do some quick things. I weigh myself, do my testosterone shots if I needed, and I sit down and I spent 3 hours, I did this morning, 3 hours working on my most important project, whatever that is. The one that will move the needle the most, 3 hours, no breaks. I put my phone away. I don't do anything else. I don't check email, nothing. 3 hours. And then after 3 hours, then I start my day. I go work out or I take a shower and I start my routine. Game changer. All right. 1 or 2 questions. I got to go. How are we doing? Yeah. 1 or 2 questions. Is it a possibility for some parents to cause autistic traits in children? I don't know the scientific data. I don't know. Perhaps. Not the full condition, but some traits that stand out. What causes this? I have no expertise in this area. I have no idea. No idea. In the future, do you think Filipina and Thai women will be less likely to have casual sex with Western men? No. Hell, especially Filipina. Hell no. No. Or will things stay the same despite their country's development? They'll stay the same. They will stay the same. Yeah, that's not going to change. What is this? Okay, weird. All right, that's it. CalebJones.com/poll to vote on what next book I write or next thing I do. And I will do literally what you guys tell me. That's my promise to you guys. So whatever the top results, not the top one, but when the top 1, 2, 3, 4 is what I will do. So this is your opportunity to tell me what you want me to do, because I'm asking you. I have a few ideas, but I want you guys to tell me. And I will post the results of this poll next week at this live stream, Alpha 2.0. Cool? CalebJones.com/poll. I'm going to close it in a few days. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that now. Cool? Cool. All right. See you guys soon. Bye.